Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of the Daily Debate. In tonight's show, we're going to be focusing on the continuous developmental projects taking place in Egypt, mainly the locomotive for the Egyptian economy for the past few years. But before we start doing that, let's check out one story making the news today. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi inspected the Alexandria port and its facilities on Sunday. Addressing the ceremony, he said harbors are developed with Egyptian hands and funds, adding that private investors were not asked to help in developing harbors due to the high costs. He said the projects aim to keep the public debt within current levels despite the population growth. He added that the prime aim is for the state to obtain real economic capabilities and benefit from Egypt's special location and have a distinct position on the sea. Sisi said the security factor is taken into consideration in all projects. During the inspection, he was briefed on the development of the harbour and its facilities. Those facilities include a logistics station and the maritime piers. He said it is important to finalise the automation of all measures for the tax and tariff system before March 2022. He said exporters will not be allowed to export goods that are not in line with European standards into the country. He also inaugurated a number of mobile units in the harbour and inspected the Long Live Egypt station. The inspection tour included inaugurating the fuel delivery station in the harbour. And during the inspection tour, Sisi talked to a number of interns and engineers who were trained at the Military Academy and Non-Commissioned Officers Institute. Discussion centered on the importance of developing and training human resources. He stressed during the discussion on the importance of raising awareness among the youth, which he said is at top of the state's priorities. Minister of Transportation Kamil Wazir addressed the ceremony as well, and he gave a briefing on the development work of the Alexandria Harbour and the strategy of maritime transportation. El-Wazir said contracts were signed with a giant European firm to operate the Long Live Egypt station. Finance Minister Mohammed Maid addressed the ceremony, detailing the strategy of developing the customs system and facilitating international trade. He said the logistics centers are managed by 1,250 youths. This is a story making the news today, but now let's turn our attention to our topic in hand. Now, Egypt's developmental projects, they are mega and they are the path to sustainable development. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
In conjunction with the current Egyptian Sustainable and Economic Reform Plan to enrich Egyptian resources and face future challenges, mega projects have been pursued to improve the infrastructure and encourage investments, starting with renewable energy and the establishment of more than 14 new sustainable cities all over Egypt to absorb the future expected population and improve the living standards of the Egyptian citizens. For decades, Egypt depended on agriculture for a massive part of its economy. Moving towards achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and to make Egypt a competitor that attracts foreign investments, Egypt has started setting developed plans of constructing mega infrastructural projects, adoption of an open market policy, and the easing of regulations and hurdles for foreign investors. As for renewable energy projects, Egypt categorized the electricity and power demand as a national security issue and adopted an immediate plan to increase the capacity of the national electricity grid and provide needed power to all sectors. An overall budget of 515 billion Egyptian pounds has been allocated to improve the electricity sector, including generation, support and transmission networks, as well as upgrade the distribution network. Sustainable renewable power sources will decrease the contamination caused by the regular thermal power producing stations, which may produce vast volumes of oxides. For wind energy, the Gulf of Suez, northwestern shores of the Red Sea, is viewed as a prime worldwide area for onshore wind energy because of its unique air currents marked by its high speed. The Egyptian government, in coordination with the Japan International Cooperation Agency, have established the biggest wind farm in the Middle East and Africa, located in Jebel el-Zayt on an area of 700 square kilometers. To reach the 2022 goal of having 20% of the total electricity grid from renewable resources, the largest solar complex in the world is being constructed in Banban village, located in Aswan Governorate. The solar power plant will support the implementation of a plan to achieve self-sufficiency to generate electricity for the next decades.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and joining us here tonight in the studio to shed more light on these projects is Dr. Nezar Samy, the Technology Management and Innovation Consultant. Dr. Samy, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you and good evening.
Good evening, sir. Dr. Samy, first of all, we want to focus mainly on the Alexandria port that the President visited and inaugurated the new Long Live Egypt station. A lot of talk has been focused on this, the development of the Alexandria port, one of the main ports on the Mediterranean. Now, having this sort of development and facelift for the maritime transportation and the Alexandria port in specific, one of the main ports on the Mediterranean, especially for Egypt, having its excellent geographical location, what does it mean for the Egyptian economy and international trade as a whole?
Thank you, Hani, for this precise introduction about for today's debate. And let's move through the whole story and the journey where we started that back to the announcement of the Egypt Vision 2030. So if we recall the Egypt Vision 2030, that is the Egyptian or the Egypt should be in a competitive economical position by year 2030 based on knowledge and innovation for better life for the Egyptians. So, and that was actually the main cornerstone where all the development projects and mainly mega projects right now integrated the last period of time. And in order to have a competitive, diversified economy, so we've been focusing on where are the points that will give our economy more competitive edge. And definitely for any growth or any economy in the world, transportation is one of the key advantages and key important measure for that as well. And if we recall the World Economic Forum Global Competitiveness Index report, one of the major pillars is about transportation as well and all the types of transportation in that. Back to the ceremony of today of inauguration of the Alexandria Harbor and all this type of logistics operations, and it is a great sign for everybody to see that Egypt is moving forward to the new republic, mixing the technology with the economic development and different industries. And we saw that the new system will be automated, and the digitalization of different systems and the diversification as well. Alexandria is one of the remarkable cities, not only in Egypt but in the world, and connecting the Mediterranean countries with different resources. And for our audience to know that in Alexandria, it is the starting point for all submarine fiber cables to move from east to west. So it has a specific or a special geographical, geopolitical even location in this mandate. So back to the trade industry and facilitating the transportation of goods all over the world. So it was a mandate, and it was a must to move into the like what we call the transportation or the maritime 4.0 and logistics 4.0, where we can see a whole complete facelifting, whole renovation of the system, the capacities, the introduction of the technology, as well as the different automation and different digitalization of services and processes in order to make the transportation and the maritime services more and more advantage and adding to the Egyptian economy in a particular way, and also to give a signal to investors, give a signal to our neighbors that we are here to serve the globe. We are to serve different countries with our facilities, and we are open arms to everybody who would like to collaborate in a sense of development and co-creation of new services for the new republic.
Well, when we talk about developing the Alexandria port, are we mainly talking about increasing the volume of trade or the number of ships going back and forth? Are we talking about really cutting a lot of time? Are we talking about providing certain services that would encourage and maybe cut costs of products and goods coming to Egypt and as well exporting it to the outside world?
Simply, we can say all of the above. So the philosophy is how to create the concept of value. So if we map all what you mentioned, Hani, thank you very much for that, we have what we call the value chain. So the value chain started with the very basic element resources, okay, moving to the transformation and the all of internal processes till we reach the final goods, and then we move to the next level, which is the consumer as well. So each and every stop or each and every spot in this value chain is touched, and it was really meant to be renovated in the new system. So starting from the capacity, the transition time between the uploading and offloading of the ships, the processing time, whatever the processing time we can call it, either like in any paper or paperless, and we're moving into the paperless society and the paperless services as well. All of the taxation, the customs as well, and you saw in the report that there are some other new rules and regulations that are going to introduce in the new system. So all these elements are going to contribute to the new era of services and marine services that are going to be catered with the port and the harbor in this particular aspect.
Yes. Well, let's break it down one bit at a time. Now, first of all, the President said that the harbor was actually developed by all Egyptian funds, Egyptian hands, and really the private sector was not really asked to invest or participate in the development of it due to the high cost. Now, does that mean that there is still room for the private sector and the private investors to actually then again maybe help more in developing or starting projects or associated services to the development and the day-to-day operations of the harbor? Or is it a sort of a national security issue just to keep everything run by the government and the public sector?
Well, very, very brilliant question. And it's worth mentioning that the strategy and the philosophy, as I see it from outside, is nobody is going to be left behind. However, the government is taking the harder part and the very tough thing to be done, and it is done by it. This is the mandate of the government to be implemented. Encouraging the private sector is extremely important in this area. And a couple of days ago, we were witnessing the International Day for Volunteering, and we saw that the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi mentioned literally that this is the time for private sector to come in and to share responsibility and to develop the country. And the beauty of all these current projects that now we are witnessing, even in transportation, in the metro and all of these type of and the new network of roads and something like that, it is all developed by Egyptian calibers, where we are right now localizing the technologies, and we are building the capacities, and we are investing in the Egyptian caliber to be able to lead the future. So the harder part or the difficult part in the story is done by the government. Everybody is asked to join, to shake hands together and to start development, because the system is really very big. Starting from the big companies in transportation businesses, they are much welcome to come and give part of the value chain, even moving towards to the SMEs, small and medium enterprises, and even both are the entrepreneurs and well as those are startup companies even are invited to come and to participate and to have part of it, because we are dealing with transportation businesses, we're dealing with automated systems, computer systems in different aspects, like in checks, in validity, even in tracking and monitoring systems, security, all of things that are involved in the transportation businesses can be operated by different players in the market. And the good news that we can say that right now we have, like for mentioning those startups, we have like business incubators right now that are specialized in marine services and even logistics. So they are inviting those young generations, and this is one of the key messages always His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is giving to anybody, that youth is the major element for developing the country, and the leadership of the country as well is going to be in the youth. So nobody is going to be left behind. It's all about, we did the difficult part in the story, so please come and shake hand and join the forces, and let's develop for better life and better systems as well.
Yes. Well, talking about the investors and really also focusing on the private sector, the SMEs, the startups, the entrepreneurships. Now, the President also said that there will be a lot of facilitations for the investors to come and invest within the Alexandria Harbour, the Alexandria Port. How encouraged or how daring and risk-taking are the private investors, the SMEs, the youth mainly? The President highlighted more than once that it's really all about the youth. I mean, the whole harbour, the whole development is run really by almost 1,200 of the Egyptian youth. How are they encouraged? How is this facilitation being done, other than the incubators?
Yeah, let's put the hat of the investors. So I will ask you, if you are an investor, so what's the main key point in order to go to any business? So what will be your answer in this mandate?
Well, you want to know that you're going to invest a certain amount and you're going to make
some amount of money.
Yes.
Yes, perfect.
And time as well, and energy. And at the same time, you're going to create some sort of a profit that will cover all your costs.
Exactly, with a minimum risk in this area.
Exactly.
Okay, so the investor, he needs an ecosystem that is transparent, automated, saving time, of course. All the rules and regulations are really agile and flexible. Okay, we don't have legacy systems, updated. And then I need to make money. This is the key point. I need to make money and to get my money back. Very short and simple message for the investors. So how we can create the trust, creating environment of trust is extremely important, okay, for this. I see it from another perspective, which is three components, mainly three components, and supported by like an infrastructure. So if we put it in that context, I can say that it is like the three-leg chair or stool. So for the investor to assure that the system is up and running in a perfect and efficient and effective way, this is a part of the key requirements. There is an element of technological development, and we saw this and we witnessed this today. Okay, we have an element of economic development and going into the financial market and commercials. Okay, and the third component, which is the trade and the trade systems, and we witness a lot of changes in and development actually and leaps in this area. All these three components are supported with the policies, rules, regulations, and laws. And for the last 3-4 years, we witnessed again a lot of changes in the investment laws to attract more investors, even in the industry as well. Reduction of the permits from 600 days to 30 days. Wow! So give you the industrial permits to work. It's amazing development in this area. So all these things together are signals for investors that we are in the right direction. This is one thing. So this will have to rest assured that you will pay some money, you will put some money to invest in some money, and then you will be able to get it with it. The investors, when we think about their mindset and mentality of dealing with things, they are referring to they are talking the international language actually, Hani. So what's the international language? It's all about indicators. It's all about reports, international reports coming from a well-trusted organization. So this gentleman, Mr. Investor, when he comes to Egypt and try to invest some money and give investment some money, he reviews the reports coming from the World Economic Forum about the potential in Egypt and the Egypt competitiveness level. How about that? He visited the report of the ease of doing business, the report of the Global Innovation Index, and how Egypt is positioned in that direction, as well as how about the economic system and the infrastructure, and how about the banks, and how the money, the monetary policy, and all these things, and financial policy in Egypt. So when he, and with his think tank and consultants, they review all this type of reports, then he said, okay, this is the nice place to move forward. Focusing on seeing, or like having this looking glass about the mega projects and all of this development, we have like a parallel activities connecting dots together. The metro network connected with the monorail, connected with the maritime services, connected with the roads. Okay, so this is the basic core of any investment to come to Egypt. We need to have an infrastructure that is reliable, technology based, and then money will be followed in this direction.
Well, there were a lot of discussions regarding the training of the human resources. I mean, you've mentioned a lot of technological developments and really working with new systems, digitalized and electronic systems, and all of these things need training. And whenever we talk about any development in any sector, we're always talking about the training of the human resources, which is becoming a sector and an industry on its own. Now, how long do you think these training programs would take, and are many Egyptians flocking to these training programs to make use and really be the first in line, being part of all these developmental projects?
Definitely. Let's put with another flavor about training. And right now, it's not just only having like a training course, one training course, and that's it. No. As I see it, as an outsider, the philosophy of His Excellency Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, as well as the cabinet, is to create the learning culture. It is learning and development rather than training in this mandate. So a lot of resources are introduced in this direction. Okay, encouraging people, encouraging everybody to learn, creating the learning culture. It is a continuous process. It's not just only about having a couple of hours and that's it. No, there are some motivators, there are some key differentiators that will differentiate people among others, okay? And to talk about the international language with the putting the Egyptian in the, what we call it like the international citizenship place. So, looking to the future, how about the future jobs and the future job requirements, as well as the preparation for the youth as well, and what are the need all around us, not just only in Egypt, the Mediterranean countries, the European countries, in America, and all of this marketplace are open right now for talents and calibers, okay? And we saw some of the initiatives coming from Her Excellency Nabila Makram about asking talents to move into the going global.
Yes.
This is the key issue. And we put it in the context, I like to call it glocal, which is global plus local. So we have a global outlook with the local flavor in that. So training programs are there, all for free, for all the youth to come and jump in, okay? This again will be compensated either if you'd like to start your job in any of those companies, or even to have your own, creating your own private business and create your own job by yourself, and promoting the concept of being a freelancer as well as extremely important. So training programs, it is in the learning phase, never stop, and it is the culture of capacity building. So we are building the capacities on all different levels. Again, nobody is going to be left behind. This is the key message where everybody should work in this direction.
Yes. Well, the Minister of Transportation, pardon, Kamil Wazir, was there and also addressed the ceremony. And we really have a lot of work that's already being done within the road and transportation networks all over the country. Also, this new electrical train, the monorail, will be connected from the Alexandria port. How effective will this be for the cargo, the shipments, the personnel going back and forth for the harbour, really finishing all the procedures and the paperwork? How effective and time efficient will that be?
What is going to, right now is developing the systems from human perspective. And this is what we call the human-centered approach. You could remember a few months ago, if you would like to move from one location to another location, like 10 kilometers, you may spend like half an hour or more, or even an hour, okay? And years ago, we read some other reports that the average driving speed in Cairo is decreasing to the amount that is really very questionable. And in that direction, this is a very alarming signals. Therefore, the development of the new axes and the new roads and widening the lanes and put this in a digitally monitored as well as digitally maintained in order to assure the seamless transition. Now you can calculate the time for your trip, okay? For instance, if we have like 100 passengers moving, or 100 travelers moving from one city to another, or from one location to another, they are consuming fuel, we are wasting time. So if you calculated 1 hour waste in this traffic network, I think the bill would be very high. Therefore, it was a must to develop this. Again, to create the sense of discipline as well, okay? You saw the difference, the seamless operation and the seamless transition of those traffic network is in place. Roads, monorails, the diversity from one place to another, using different means of transportation is meant to be there. Not to what we call it in strategy, single point of failure. So you can depend on more than one tool or one mean to move from point A to point B seamlessly. And if we see the map and the future plans that Egypt will be covered And with a renovated network of high-speed trains, monorails, this will help the cargo very much so to speed up and to accelerate the shipping time, to boost the economy as well is extremely important. All these steps are leading to the economic development of Egypt. Reducing the time is extremely important. Having like data or analytics about the utilization of the systems is extremely important as well. So you can give for the decision maker the direction how to put investments, how to, so maybe we need to invest in this location. We need to build up like a logistics hub in this area for maintenance, equipped with, for instance, with new technological tools and robotics and something like this. So technology is coming fast, leading to the future.
Yes. Well, Minister of Finance Mohammed Maid was also there, and he spoke about the development of the whole customs systems and facilitations, which is a really of big concern to the companies, the retailers here in Egypt, the car traders. I mean, everyone whose business is really based and dependent on importing goods, cars, electronics, what may be. What are the new characteristics of this customs system? Are things going to be cheaper? Are they going to be more expensive? Is it going to take less time for spare parts to be imported to Egypt? How's this going to work?
Thank you for the question. The main point for developing any technological system is, again, I refer it back to the Egypt vision. Okay, so it is based on competitiveness, to be more competitive, based on knowledge. This is extremely important thing, to based on knowledge for better life for Egyptians. Remember that we all experienced that we received containers from different countries with a very low quality of products. Inspection should be there, okay, as well as all the value operation or the processes needed in order to assure that this element, even if it is a spare part or an end product, that fits into the quality standard that is needed for our lives. And this is what His Excellency the President was calling for today. We need to raise the bar of the quality. We need to make it the highest standard for the citizens and the Egyptians. And we deserve to have this type of quality of life, quality of equipment, quality of everything. So in this context, again, the parallel directions from different ministries are working together to facilitate and to accelerate things. Having a digitized system in taxation or in customs, definitely it will help to reduce corruption. Remember, this is a very important issue for any importer or exporter about how about corruption, how about under-table money and all these things. We don't need to have this like that. And again, it is another indicator for the Egypt posture in the world in about anti-corruption and how are the moves into this direction. So, speed of operation, transparency, unified tariff. So you cannot have what we call double dipping, okay? No preferential treatment whatsoever for those guys in the favor of others. So equity will be there. So the new taxation system, it should be fulfilling all these needs. It should be agile. Okay, why you should be agile? In order to be able to accommodate and to absorb all the international transactions, all international even changes that have been catered in the coming period. So these are the key milestones or the key issues we should care about. The amount of it is higher or less. It is subjected to the international trade, international network. Okay, we witnessed that due to the COVID, for instance, some of the industries were really very affected, like in the microelectronics and chip, electronic chip design that it used in automotive and vehicle. A very good, shortage in the production for the automation in this mandate. So it is demand and supply issue. Okay, we are part of the world, so we are affecting and being affected by the global system. We should be agile, up to standard, okay, and on time. These are the main components where when reducing the new system, so we are following, or we are actually not following, we are putting the guidelines for the future in this direction.
Yes. Well, the President, as you've mentioned, he really stressed on the importance of having the highest European standards of quality for things coming into Egypt. Now, how does this affect the domestic industry and the production of our domestic products and goods? Will that increase, will it create more pressure on the domestic investor and the factories here in Egypt to really upgrade their own quality and really raise the bar for the Egyptian standard for the products?
Absolutely correct, absolutely correct. And really, please, I'd like to thank you again for this brilliant question, because this was one of the most important pillars for creating competitiveness, is to start from inside out. So we need to build up the quality. Everybody should understand what's the difference of quality and quality in products, quality in services, even though. So are we ready and are we equipped and do we have the system to do that? The answer is yes. We have the Egyptian organization and Egyptian authority for standards, and they have all the standards you can imagine, and all the labs. And again, the Minister of Industry, she puts a lot of emphasis in supporting the local industry and local standards. And I'll give you one example about how efficient and effective those committees and the technical committees in the Egypt Standard Organization, in one of the local committees about the automotive. And when they started to study the new era of electrical cars, believe it or not, they prevented a lot of low quality products to penetrate the market, from the batteries, from the spare parts needed for the cars, even the cars in themselves, okay? And they set the new standard for the new shape of the industry in there as well. A lot of initiatives came to uplift and to move from the informal sector to the formal sector. And to the formal sector, you will have a lot of incentives in the different laws and different aspects. So how to do this move, how to bridge the gap, the standards is the answer. So a lot of training programs conducted. So those small companies or small manufacturers, they are invited to utilize and to get it, and a lot of incentives have been introduced to the market. Like if you move from the informal to the formal sector, you can get some for financial incentives, some tax incentive, as well as some training incentives as well. So to promote people to move into that. The Federation of Trade in Egypt as well, they have a very strong arm and very strong role to play in the coming period in order to raise the bar of the quality, do some sort of awareness. I will give you a quick example. In the metro station right now, if you move from one metro station to another, you will see like the public address announcements over there to give you some insights. Please don't get unknown products from unknown seller. Make sure that you are getting the quality product. Make sure not to pay money for those people who don't know. You can imagine this type of culture. Where do we reaching right now? Even in the metro, if you are waiting for 3-4 minutes to jump in the cage, okay, you will repeat the message of please pick the right product. Please make sure that you are getting the highest quality. This is what we are going to witness in the coming period, is to have or to practice better life for Egyptians.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, these social and economic national mega projects have been taking place since 2014, and Egypt has actually spent $4.4 trillion on these projects since 2014 up until 2020. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
The Minister of Planning and Economic Development, Hala Said, said 4.4 trillion Egyptian pounds have been invested in national projects carried out between July 2014 and June 2021. She added during the period between July 2014 and June 2020, projects worth 2.4 trillion Egyptian pounds were completed in 22 sectors across the country. This was in addition to the investment plan of the fiscal year 2020-2021, consisting of public investments whose total value have exceeded 2 trillion Egyptian pounds. The outcome of these investments has been embodied in the improvement of Egypt's ranking in international competitiveness indicators. The minister indicated the petroleum and mineral wealth sector has topped the sectors throughout the years in terms of total cost of implemented projects, so as the investments it received amount to 1.2 trillion Egyptian pounds. The most important of these is the Zohra Field Development Project with a production capacity of 2.7 billion CBM a day, in addition to the development of the Northern Fields, Alexandria and West Nile Delta. The latter project has a production capacity of 0.7 billion CBMs a day. Also of importance are the 128-kilometer-long Nauros Abul Madi El Gamil gas pipeline and the establishment of the Egyptian refining company's Mustorad refinery with a production capacity of 4.7 million tons of petroleum products annually. In the electricity sector, the total cost of the implemented projects has amounted to 403 billion Egyptian pounds. Further projects implemented is the establishment of 12 stations in Benben, Aswan Governorate with a capacity of 485 megawatts, as well as the establishment of a photovoltaic cell station in Komombo. Egypt's ranking in the Electricity Access Index has increased from 145 in 2015 to 77 in 2019. The cost of the projects implemented in the housing sector and the development of slums has amounted to 225 billion Egyptian pounds. The most important was the establishment of 417,000 social housing units, 122,000 housing units to house residents of dangerous and unsafe slum areas, in addition to the benefit of 586,000 citizens from the development of slum areas in the last few years.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Continuing our discussion with Dr. Samy. 4.4 trillion pounds, that's almost $225 billion. Now, Egyptians started already feeling the impact of all these national mega projects within all the sectors, and it's still going on and it's taking place. I mean, we're talking about only 6 years. So 2030 doesn't seem unrealistic anymore. In your assessment, I mean, we're working on all these projects simultaneously, all these industries, all these sectors. How or when do we see this huge, giant leap, not just felt by the Egyptians, but the international communities? We were talking about all the financial international institutions really starting to take notice and acknowledge the development, the economic and developmental progress Egypt is making. When is Egypt going to be recognized internationally as a giant economic country?
I will call back the first interview for His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi about his strategy to have a new Egypt, to develop Egypt. He said, and he did like that, we will have to go work in parallel. And I remember that at that time, years and years ago, very few were believing in this vision. How are we going to do this? How are we going to move it? How are we going to get it? How are we going to solicit fund for that? Okay, but actually right now we started to celebrate and to harvest all the seeds that have been introduced at that time. Okay. Now, in order to move to the new economic and how to be recognized as the top giants in this area, we need to focus on what we call the USPs, or the unique selling propositions. So how do you would like to rebrand Egypt? Are we the land of pyramids, or the land of a hub of the logistics of the world, or like one of the dreams to be the technology hub or the fintech hub, or an energy hub as well? Okay, so as long as you have the vision for all these things, you can work together. We have a lot of expertise doing a fantastic job over there. Egyptians are contributing very much from research perspective, from business perspective as well, to move forward. Okay, the key point is the more you run fast, you will receive a lot of challenges, but with a seamless vision, you will be able to jump in. You will able, any hurdles you're going to find, you're going to move forward as well. So we need to focus on specific areas, okay, where we be able to be recognized in that mandate, okay, based on our geopolitical situation, the availability of resources that we have right now. And by the way, right now Egypt is recognized as a giant in many aspects right now. ICT, or information and communication technology, is coming and it is booming. Businesses, the logistics area in Suez Canal, and we saw today in the morning, which is in Alexandria as well, the transportation, what we call the health tourism is coming, and it is booming right now. A lot of industries, Egypt is really put a mandate and facilities in that to be in a top and maintain the top leading top position in that way. Yeah.
Dr. Samy, now you've mentioned that with all this sort of fast-paced development, obstacles arise and challenges are there, and mountains are there to be crossed and climbed over. Now, what sort of challenges are the biggest for Egypt in terms of these developmental projects and this the facelift of the Egyptian economy? Are we talking about economic challenges, finding the investors, generating the finances, or are we talking about a cultural challenge for the Egyptian citizens to try and jump on this bandwagon and really adapt to a new way of life? Or are we talking about political challenges, because the economy and politics are intertwined actually, and not everyone necessarily wants to see you do good, and it's really trying to have this sort of diplomacy and balance of knowing how to maneuver and go around all this sort of development. What seem to be the biggest challenges and obstacles facing the country?
Fantastic. I will recall back a quote from Peter Drucker, is one of the gurus in modern management. Peter Drucker said, if we have a very good strategy, okay, he said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Can you imagine? So not even for the lunch or even for the dinner. So if you build a fantastic and an amazing strategy, okay, if you don't have the proper culture that can be utilized, or the proper culture that can understand this, then you have a question mark in the coming period. So what is the culture? Is the interaction between different thoughts, beliefs, and norms of everybody living in one place or in a society. So culture is one of the key challenges. We need to work on that very much so. Okay, so do we have the culture of scarcity or culture of abundancy? So we need to figure out everybody, we need to move into from the scarcity mentality to the abundant mentality. So this is an important part for everybody to realize and to think about it. From the classical autonomous system into the digital era is extremely important to think about. By the way, financials is not the main, it is one of the challenges, but is not one of the top 2 or 3 challenges that you can see. Because, so culture, technology, and how we can create environment of trust. So when you create environment of trust for the investment, environment of trust for the manufacturing, environment of trust for everybody, then you will be able to attract investment, you will be able to have decent jobs, you will be able to have a healthy working environment, okay? All these things are going to contribute to the economic development. So those are the main challenges. Getting a machine or moving from the industry 4.0 or X.0 or whatever, yeah, I need to inject some money and then get some of the equipment, and the system is there. But the most important, how we can maintain it, how we can make it in a more efficient way. So it is about back to the you and me, ourselves. So the human part is extremely important, and we need to focus on this for having a sustainable, dimension. And if we put it in another context as well, this is what's called the triple bottom line, or the SDGs, or the Sustainable Development Goals. Okay, we can put them in 3 dimensions: the economic part, the social part, and the environmental part. We should be environmental ready. We should be environmental cautious. We should be understanding the new normal of the environment. We have to be care about our environment. All these components are important to support the economic development and to encourage people to move forward to the next level.
Well, one quick question, because we're running out of time, but there's also talk about issuing the bonds for the Egyptian citizens, and we've seen how the bonds, when they were issued for the development of the Suez Canal, I mean, the country was able to generate about billions,
64 billion
pounds in 7 days. Do you think this is one successful way that always Egyptian citizens would be flocking and rushing to actually help invest and see an interest on their investments?
Definitely, yes. Creating the loyalty is extremely important in this direction. Again, it is about creating environment of trust, as I mentioned, and about that. And the most I'd like to highlight in the daily debate for today, it's about the green bonds right now. A lot going into the renewable resources, caring about the environment is extremely important, and it will encourage people to move. And a lot of funds coming from different organizations to promote the area of renewables, the area of green environment is extremely important. So this will encourage a lot of businesses to start and to get this opportunity, capture it, and utilize it to the maximum.
Yes. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we see today, I mean, we're talking about developmental and national mega projects for the past few years, but every other day seems a new developmental project taking place, a new facelift, a restructuring of one sector or the other, a real big boost for the Egyptian economy. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. But before we go, I'd like to thank my very distinguished guest, Dr. Nezar Samy, the Technology Management and Innovation Consultant. Dr. Samy, always a pleasure having you with us.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you, Hani. Thank you very much,
sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for more coming up on Al International. I'm Hani Saif. Thank you for joining us.